Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We are learning Mishna Nazir, Parak Aleph, Chapter 1, Mishnah Vav, Mishnah 6. Okay. Hareini Nazir, a person says, I am hereby a Nazir, Mikan ad Makom Ploni, from here until this and this place. That's his wording. I am hereby a Nazir, from here until, let's give an example, from here until New York. Okay, what does he mean? What does he mean to say? So, Aimdin Kamayame Mikan V'Makom Ploni, we evaluate, we estimate how many days it takes to get from here until that place. If it lands up being less than 30 days, those are shleishim yom. Then he has to be another for 30 days. Can't be another than less than 30 days. So even though it comes up being less than 30, he said I'm a nazir, and that means he's accepting Naziris. And even though he says from here until there, and that's a less than a 30-day trip, nonetheless, it's going to be a Naziris of 30 days. Because again, he said Hareini Nazir, which is a acceptance of being a Nazir, but he said it should be for this period of time. Now, if that period of time is less than 30, you can't do that. You can't make a Naziris you can't be a Nazir less than 30, and therefore it automatically is a 30-day term. That's impach. So therefore, impachas b'shleishim yaim. If it takes less than 30 days, nazar shleishim yaim. It's going to be another for 30 days. Vim lav. But if it doesn't take less than 30 days, it means it takes more than 30 days. Nazar kaminyan ayamim. He then is a nazar according to how many days it takes. Right? You can be a nazar for more than 30 days. You can be a nazar for 36 days. You can be another for 43 days. And therefore, if the distance that he mentioned regarding the length of time for his Naziris, if that is going to be more than 30 days, and whatever amount of days it takes to get to that place, that's how many days he's going to be a Nazir. Now, there's a lot of explanation that's needed here because of the fact that, before we had an example of a case where he said, now again, in the other case, it may be a little bit more extreme, but we had a case before where he said, from here until the end of the world. And there we said he just means one term of Naziris. And that saying from here until the end of the world is just an expression of saying, that's what this Naziris feels like to me. Now here, he may not be going with such an extreme, but here, in essence, just because he said from here until this and this place. I mean, he could have said from here until, I don't know, from here until who knows where, right? Which could have also been a very, very long period of time. But at the end of the day, we say, well, if it's less than 30 days, it's a 30-day Naziris, which means he's only taking upon himself one Naziris. Or if it's more than 30 days, then again, it's going to be one Naziris for that length of time. But it doesn't seem to be exactly working together what we said before. So now, here we say like this. Let me read to you here from the bottom. So in the case of where we say it's talking about that he went, it takes more than 30 days. So they bring down, for example, if the trip is estimated to last 40 days, he must observe a 40-day term of Naziris. The Mishnah is discussing someone who has started on the journey mentioned in his vow. He's not just saying it. He's actually starting a trip. And that is when he's saying here in this case, from here until there, I want to be a Nazir. We assume he means to accept Naziris for as many days as the rest of his trip is estimated to take. Now they add here, so that the merit of being a Nazir should protect him from any danger along the way. That's the background, okay? However, if he made this declaration when he was not traveling, we assume that he intends to accept a standard 30-day term, which is a burden that seems to him as long as the trip to the place he mentioned. So that's the point. The point here is, and then they bring here, this would be similar to the case in Mishnah 3, where someone declares himself a Nazir from here until the end of the world. Again, it's not as much of an extreme as that, but the point here is that if you just say from here until wherever, you just mean one regular Naziris. However, you're starting on a trip. You're starting to go, and you say, okay, until I'm going to be a Nazir from here until that place, which is where he's going, then we actually assume that he wants to be a Nazir for that period of time. And the explanation given that you bring down here from Taisvis is because he wants the Naziris to be a merit for the trip. Okay, so therefore our case is very specific. The Mishnah didn't mention that very important detail, but it's a very important detail. He's not just saying this, that from here until there. He's actually starting on a trip. And when he starts on a trip and he says from here until there I want to be a Nazir, we understand that to mean that he wants to be a Nazir for as long as it takes him to do this trip. Now, let's do the next Mishnah, Mishnah Zayin.
And if he doesn't get to that place,
I don't know.
he's still
30 days.
Yeah.
All right.
Hareini Nazir Kaminyan Yamais Hachama. Now, here the case the person says, I am a Nazir, like the numbers of the day of the solar year. That's what he said. Hareini Nazir, I am hereby a Nazir, Kaminyan Yamais Hachama, like the number of the days of the Chama means the solar year. Maina Naziris Kaminyan Yamais Hachama. Now he has to keep terms of Naziris like the number of the years of the solar calendar. It's understood when he says, I'm hereby a Nazir, like the number of days, that he wants to make as many Naziris as the number of days of solar calendar. That means he's going to keep 365 terms of Naziris. How long is each term of the Naziris going to be? 30 days. It's like when you say, I'm a Nazir like the hairs on my head, right? You are saying, I want to be a Nazir like these specific units that he mentioned. And in this case, the specific units are the number of the days of the solar year. Okay? Now, we'll bring it down here again, I'll read to you from the notes. Had he meant to accept a single term of Naziris lasting for 365 days, he would simply have said, like the days of the solar year. If we were to say, I hereby a Nazir like the days of the solar year, that would have been understood as one Naziris for how long? 365? No. Well, yeah, solar year, 365 days. By adding the expression minyan, the number of, right, he added a word. He said, like the number of the days of the solar year, the person shows that he's treating the days of the year as separate from one another, rather than as one long period of days. Because he says, like the number, Naziris, I am hereby a Nazir, like the number of days of the solar year. That means he's not treating it as one unit, but as separate units. In other words, he means to accept upon himself as many terms of Naziris as the number of days in a solar year. That's why the Mishnah says he is a Nazir like the number of days of the years of the solar calendar, means to say he has to do that many terms of Naziris. Now, Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda said, Ma'aseh there was a story like this. Kevan shehishlim, once he completed it, mace, he died. Meaning, we have a person who accepted, made a Naziris like this. We know of a case, an actual case. A person said, I am hereby a Nazir like the number of days of the solar calendar. And what happened is, he completed this, and then he died. What's the point of this? What's the point? Like, where is this coming in for, and what's the point? So the explanation, rather, Atanur, is the following. Rabbi Yehuda cites this proof because the Gemara quotes another Tana. I mean, there's another opinion, the opinion of Rebbe, not mentioned here in the Mishnah, who disagrees with the Tana Kama. He disagrees with what our Mishnah said. According to Rebbe, the vower in our Mishnah is a permanent Nazir because declaration is understood to mean will be a Nazir for all the days the sun exists, which is forever. Meaning, according to Rebbe, when you say, I'm hereby a Nazir, like the number of days of the sun, that's the literal translation of the words. The literal translation of his words here are, Hareini Nazir, I am hereby a Nazir, coming like the number, Yemei Sacham, or the days of the sun. So Rebbe says, what does he mean when he says, like the number of the days of the sun? According to Rebbe, that means he's making himself a Nazir for as long as the sun exists. All the days of the sun. As long as the sun exists, that's the number of my Naziris. Which means, therefore, what is he saying? Forever. Right? That's what he's saying. He's saying forever. He is a permanent Nazir because declaration is understood to mean that it will be a Nazir for all the days the sun exists. That's how Rebbe understood it. Now, if that were the law, the man in the story could never have concluded his term. Right? The point was, the story goes, he kept it and he finished. But if he meant like Rebbe, if we explain that, if we hold like Rebbe, that Nazir meant to say, I am a Nazir as long as the sun exists, which means he's a Nazir Olam, he's a permanent Nazir, then you can never say when he died, he finished. He didn't finish, he just died. But if you say that he died and he finished, then it can't mean that. However, since he had died following the conclusion of his Naziris, we see that the sages of that time ruled that the man's Naziris could end. This agrees with the Tanakhama's ruling that he must keep 365 terms of 30-day Naziris. And what's the total of that going to be? 365 terms of 30 days Naziris is going to be how many years? About 30 years. Very good, Martin. About 30 years. And he is then done. So the point of the Mishna, of the conclusion of the Mishnah is that since we say he completed it, then that means that he was not a permanent Nazir, but rather, like the Tanakhama says, he was a Nazir as many terms as the days of the solar calendar. That means he had to keep 365 terms of Naziris. Took him 30 years to do it. He got it done, and then he died. But the point is, he got it done. So you see that the Chachamim at that point actually paskin, they actually rendered a halachic decision, a practical decision, that in this kind of case where he says, I'm a Nazir, like the number of the years of the Cham, of the solar year, it means to say as many terms as Naziris as the days of the solar calendar. Have a wonderful day.
Okay.
Thank you, Rabbi.